the point for the Beavers, trying to bounce back from their loss, game 1 here on Sunday nights. Craig Robinson now in his 6th season as head coach, went 14-18 last year, but won 21 games 2 years ago, and feels like he has a deeper team this year, hoping that they learn something from that loss to Coppin State. They were too tentative against the zone, hoping to use their size to their advantage tonight. Eric Reveneau, in his 8th year as head coach for the Portland Pilots, has many Pac-12 connections, played for Mike Montgomery at Stanford, later worked as an assistant coach in Palo Alto. The local rivalry is renewed. 68th meeting. Beavs have won 51 times, 29-3 against Portland here in Corvallis, although it's their first meeting since 2007. And this is a Pilots team that showed a lot of offensive firepower, as we mentioned in their season opening win over UC Davis on Friday night, coming off a campaign last year where they won just 11 ball games, 4 victories in the WCC, and they are picked to finish 9th in the West Coast Conference, and that's a league now that has 10 teams with the addition of the University of Pacific Tigers. It's Bailey, who was really locked in the other night. 29 points, a career high, unable to knock it down from the outside on the Pilots' first trip.
Make no doubt about it, Brian. This is a big game for Oregon State. You mentioned that Portland was picked 9th to finish in their conference, the WCC. Let's remember, Coppin State also was a team picked to finish 9th in the MEAC conference, one that's not as strong as the WCC. So Oregon State cannot overlook them.
Angus Brandt, 5th-year senior from Australia, back from the ACL injury. Nelson all the way, baseline, tries to clean up his own miss, but can't rein it in. And there's Nicholas with the quick hands.
Roberto Nelson is going to be aggressive. He's Oregon State's leading scorer. He's the go-to guy. He has Devon Collier back now on the post to help him out, and Angus Brandt as well.
Kevin Bailey swings. Wintering, that's a 3. He's a good-looking true freshman.
He is. Portland says that he reminds him of T.J. Campbell, a former guard that Wintering looked up to as a kid, went to the same high school his freshman season as T.J. Campbell, then ended up transferring, playing for Muggsy Bogues, the former NBA. You can call him a legend, can't you? Little
he
Muggsy.
Played a long time, Muggsy.
He did.
Charlie Barton got the whistle there, and that is going to be unusual. Most times you can assume the whistle if there's contact with the defender in the vicinity. It's going to go against defense. We'll get into the particulars of the rules changes coming up in a moment. Nicholas can't roll it down, and Brandt with the defensive rebound.
Oregon State's a team that wants to get out and run. They have to get defensive stops. That time in a 1-3-1, Nicholas was able to get a good attempt, just didn't make it, and Oregon State's going to look to push. They have to set tempo tonight and play Oregon State basketball.
Oregon State had no trouble scoring last year, number 3 in the Pac-12 offensively, but had real issues on defense. Last in scoring D, number 11 in field goal percentage allowed.
Well, one thing of note, last year they had Ahmad Starks, who was at times a defensive liability, but at the point guard spot, he's one of the most electric players in the conference.
Martin short on the 3. Nicholas with the rebound, and Wintering quickly up the floor. Kevin Bailey for 3.
Portland missed that last 3, but they are getting very good looks. If the game continues at this pace, where they're beating Oregon State off the dribble drive, things are going to work in their favor.
Nicholas with space and capitalize. As we mentioned, coming off the career-high 27-point performance against UC Davis. 5-0 Portland to start this game.
We talked about it. He's not just a back-to-the-basket player. He could turn and face. He could step out to 3.
Nelson the pull-up. Averaged 18 points a game last year. Leading scorer in the Pac-12 in conference games only. Good penetration by Bailey, but couldn't hang on.
Here's Nicholas, and this is what he can do. He'll turn, he'll face. He's a matchup nightmare for a lot of opposing bigs who aren't used to extending out to defend.
Double comes, and the kick out. Finds Nelson on the rotation. Matched up with Bryce Presley. And there's the whistle. Our officials tonight, Vern Harris, Chris Restatter and Bruce Hicks. Bryce Pestley picking up the personal foul.
There you see Roberto Nelson trying to go up for the shot. He's trying to use those new rules to his advantage.
We talked with Eric Revenue. He said Presley had the best chance of matching up one-on-one against Roberto Nelson, but it's going to take a team effort to slow down that prolific scorer. Victor Robbins can't get it to drop off the baseline. The sophomore from Compton in Southern California.
A couple possessions already. We've seen Oregon State drive towards the paint and not get a really clear look with Vandermar's down there for Portland. And Nicholas, it's not going to be easy for Oregon State to score in the paint.
Wittering had the open look for three, couldn't rail it. Just getting started here on the campus of Oregon State University.
Portland extending out their pressure a bit, falling back into a 2-3 zone.
Collier's been a non-factor in his return game, but he's working his way to the line. The senior from the Bronx will get a couple looks at the stripe.
Well, that's what you get with Devon Collier. We've talked about Nicholas's ability to face up and attack the basket. Devon Collier can do the same thing. He doesn't shoot it as good as Nicholas, but when he catches it with his back to the basket, he's as good as anybody.
Thomas Vandermars with the personal foul last year. Collier, second leading scorer, 13 points a game, added 6 rebounds. Has already scored over 1,000 points in his career.
Ideally, he'd like to catch the ball on the block, but he doesn't mind stepping out there and taking 1-2 dribbles to get where he needs to go. He's always had a knack of getting fouled ever since his freshman year. He's been shooting better from the free throw line each season.
Career 62% shooter from the line, and it's a 1-point game. Portland on top.
Oregon State finding a little bit of early success in this 1-3-1 defense. When they go to this defense, it really puts a premium on the offensive team to make the right passes, to be in the right spots on the court. Spacing has to be right. And they need to utilize the diagonal passes. That's what's open against a 1-3-1.
Nicholas faces up and turns it over right into the hands of Robbins.
This impatient play by Nicholas. Portland did what they wanted to do, got the ball to the middle of the court.
Barton with the three. The junior from Sweden.
That's a good sign for Oregon State. Charlie Barton coming into this season as a starting point guard. Plays a lot better when he knows he's starting. His numbers have proved it in the past, coming off the bench. He was 1 of 9 from three-point line last season. And when he began starting, he ended up shooting 12 of 31.
And Nicholas, the crafty move, fouled in the act. Barton, as you touched on, much more productivity when he was inserted into the starting lineup at the conclusion of last year, and looking good to start 2013. He knocks it down. 2-point game in Corvallis.
Stop! Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Pac-12 basketball was brought to you by State Farm for auto, home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. And by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Brian Weber, Lamar Hurd back with you at Oregon State. An overview of the University of Portland. Small enrollment, less than 4,000 students. Among the notable alums, Eric Spoelstra went from the videotape guy to now going after the three-peat in South Beach.
Yeah, he became somebody.
hard work pays off, and it also helps to have LeBron James.
Yeah, and Dwayne Wade and Ray Allen and Chris Bosh, and you can keep on going down the list.
Eric Revenue's team led 5-0 to start the game. Oregon State scored the next 7 to grab the lead. Nicholas is smooth at the line, career 73% shooter, and doesn't really blow you away in any one facet of his play. I think steady summarizes his overall outlook.
I agree with you there. Very smart. We saw in that last play for him to get to the free throw line. Just a little up fake to get Devon Collier up in the air.
Already in the top 15 in Portland history in rebounding. Senior from Spokane, played his high school basketball at Gonzaga Prep. Can't get all three, and we're tied at 7.
This is what I expected to see more from Portland, a little 2-3 zone action, because Oregon State struggled with this against Coppin State, getting the ball to the middle. They said they didn't follow their game plan, so let's see how well they do today.
Nelson all the way to the hoop, and the aggressive play pays off.
Well, that's a good game plan. Get the ball to the best scorer in the Pac-12.
Bobby Sharp into the game. Here comes transfer for the Pilots. Nicholas open for 3. Rebound to Brandt. Martin to push tempo. Brandt can shoot the 3. And it's Presley off the rebound.
It's a great look for Angus Brandt. He's still getting his legs under him after sitting out the majority of last season with the ACL injury.
Sharp's a shooter.
You're right. They're taking advantage of the offensive transition.
Bobby Sharp, the JC transfer from Santa Rosa JC in Northern California, knocked him down at a 44% clip. Junior college, good no call there, as Nelson tried to create something, but the whistle did not come.
This is a good officiating crew, 3 of the best.
Martin with the hander to Brandt, and he's going to the line.
Well, already Oregon State doing a much better job against a zone defense than they did against Coppin State Sunday. You see Roberto Nelson with a direct drive, and then on the other end, Portland with the offensive transition, taking advantage. Oregon State has to do a better job getting back on defense.
Riley Parker got the personal foul, and here's Brandt, the 5th-year senior. Granted a medical hardship last year, toward the ACL in his right knee in just the 4th game of the season against Purdue in New York City. Volodymyr Giroud into the game. Eric Reveneau told us that everyone connected with the Portland program calls him Voldy, so we have permission to do the same.
Because I don't think I was going to be able to repeat the name that you just said.
He's the junior from Ukraine. Brandt tracks down his own miss. Going the other way. And there's a look at Giroud, the transfer from West Virginia. It's a Portland team, as we alluded to, with low expectations in terms of the coaches poll inside the always competitive West Coast Conference. Picked to finish just 9th in the 10-team league. Of course, Gonzaga, the consensus favorite to win it all again this year. Sharp once more from distance, couldn't roll it down. And the battle for the rebound belongs to the Beavers.
Right now, the 1-3-1 favorite in Oregon State. They're getting the basketball to the corners, and that's where they're trapping. So Portland playing right into their hands. Portland has to get back to throwing the ball to the middle or throwing diagonal skip passes.
Olaf Schaftenauer just had the ball briefly. He's on the floor, the sophomore from the Netherlands. Good outside touch as well. He is not at all shy from 3-point range. Nelson over to Brandt. Count it, 3-point opportunity.
The dribble drive, the penetration, the drawing a help defender is what creates offense when you face a zone defense. And we see Roberto Nelson again putting the ball on the floor, forcing help defense to rotate, and Angus Brandt, the recipient.
Presley with the personal foul.
With the addition of Devon Collier on the floor, not only do you get the 12 points back and the 6 rebounds, but you allow Angus Brandt a little ability to roam, to play some high-low basketball, float around the perimeter.
Lane violation, wipes off the made free throw. 12-2, Oregon State on top of Portland after the Pilots scored the first 5 to start the game. Coming up on 6 minutes gone by in a competitive opening half.
Portland shooters have to be ready to catch and shoot at the top of the key.
Schaftenauer matched up with Winnering. He's going to take it in on the diminutive guard and finish. The sophomore from the Netherlands averaged 4 points in 13 minutes of action last year.
And that's his first non-3-point shot of the season after going 2 of 8 from the 3-point line versus Coppin State. So that's a welcome sight to see Olaf get into the paint, even if he had to go in there.
Collier took an inadvertent elbow from Jeroen, but he's going to gut it out. You saw him wince in pain directly in front of us. Up the floor, Nelson waits for help. Grant trading contact.
Very heady play.
Vandemar's taking it, his second.
Here Portland just struggling with the 1-3-1. The ball goes off with the referee, but the ref has parted the play. And Olaf Schaftenar getting his first 2-point basket of the season.
Pilots already with a quick tally of 5 team fouls. We'll track that as this first half rolls along. Brandon, his comeback game from the knee surgery. Solid effort of 13 points, 7 rebounds in the loss to Coppin State.
You know, a lot was expected of him in that game against Coppin State. He was the biggest guy on the floor. He was the only post presence, and that's not really his role to be the only guy. He's more of a complementary player to Devon Collier.
Comeback's a theme for the Beavers. Daniel Gomez comes into the game. Just his second college outing tonight. Missed 2 years after he broke his leg and then needed leg surgery the following year. It's Nelson with the steal all the way to the hoop, and he finalizes with flair over Bobby Sharp trying to get in there defensively.
Well, you would think with all the new rules changes that would definitely be a foul, considering all the touch fouls that are called, but Roberto Nelson fighting through it, nice concentration, and right now Portland just struggling with the 1-3-1.
And once more, Nelson's defensive energy rewarded. But you're right, this is old school basketball. They're letting them play.
They are.
Schaftenauer misses the 3, but on the weak side, Collier strong. Comes off to Malcolm Duvivier, true freshman from Toronto. Nelson, that's a deep 3, but he tracks down his own miss. Collier in a crowd, and he's got it. A lot of energy last couple minutes for Oregon State offensively, and defense leading to offense.
Well, Oregon State doing what they're supposed to do. You're facing a zone defense, so when you shoot, you'll have offensive rebounding opportunities because Portland doesn't have a specific box out opportunity.
Sharp has virtually unlimited range, and that draws the timeout from Craig Robinson. Good-looking junior college transfer.
It's a nice stroke right there, and that's what I'm saying. The guards for Portland have to be ready to catch and shoot at the top of that offensive set. I talked about how the 1-3-1 puts a premium on passing and spacing. It also does it with ball handling, and there, Nelson just taking the ball from the freshman guard.
Nelson in elite company here in Corvallis, on pace to finish his career top 5 in school history. Notable names: Gary Payton, Steve Johnson, Mel Counts, A.C. Green in front of him if he gets to number 5.
That puts it in perspective for you. He's in a discussion of one of the best players to play at Oregon State. I call him the best scorer in the conference that you haven't heard of. And the reason you haven't heard of him is because of Oregon State's struggles. They haven't been a winning team. So Nelson has flown under the radar, but you're talking about a guy who led the conference in scoring in conference games last year.
One of the reasons why Portland looks so good offensively in their season opening win over UC Davis, they merely had 8 turnovers, 5 already to start this game, and it's Oregon State leading 20-13 inside 12 minutes left in the first half.
Well, if they ever settle down and get comfortable against this 1-3-1, they'll be okay because they'll get good looks. They have good shooters. They have guys that can score in bunches.
Jarmel Reed dropped it down to Nelson, and it belongs to the Portland Pilots. Momentum has been temporary in this opening half in Corvallis. It's the Beavers on top by 7.
There's no greater place to be involved than Utah. We learn a lot in class, obviously, but it's everything that we learn on campus, the people that we meet. That's what shapes and makes us. The most exciting experience I've had here at the University of Utah is the MUST, the Mighty Utah Student Section. We're loud every game, we get excited. Taking it beyond coming to see the players, making it a conviction. It's another way to get involved on campus and find something that connects you back to the University of Utah. I'm Keith Keddington, a Ute fan here at the University of Utah, a class of 2013, and we are the network.
My name is Blake Thoreau. I'm a junior, and I'm from Virginia. I think anytime you transition from high school to college is a big transition. Training on the coast near the beaches is a little bit different from training up in the mountains. And I noticed the altitude for a brief period of time, maybe a couple weeks that I was here, but once you train here for a long time and this place becomes your home, then you don't really notice it anymore. I think it definitely gives us an advantage. On the weekends, we go up in the Rocky Mountains and train at 8,500 and 9,000 feet, running as fast as some of our competitors do at sea level. So it definitely gives us, if not a physical advantage, then definitely a mental advantage. There's legacies here, runners, Olympians, national champions that have come in and out of this program, and so I came out here to just get the best training that I possibly could and train with the Colorado Buffaloes.
Friday, it's a big night of men's hoops on the Pac-12 networks. At 6, Arizona State takes on Idaho State. Then at 8, Justin Cobbs and the Cal Golden Bears host Oakland. Or USC takes on Northern Arizona.
Up and good.
Live coverage starts Friday at 6 on Pac-12 networks.
I'm Stanford head football coach David Shaw. You're watching the Pac-12 networks.
Oregon State leading Portland by 7 points. Roberto Nelson already has 6. We asked his head coach Craig Robinson what makes Roberto so special on and off the court.
On the court, he just can do a lot of things. He knows how to get fouled. He can shoot from long distance. He can drive to the paint. So he's very versatile as an offensive player.
Another thing Craig's been talking about, Roberto's work ethic in the offseason, really worked on his ball handling skills this summer, and we've seen it pay dividends in this game.
That's what he needed the most. If there's any limitations in this game, it's probably his ability to one-on-one break a player down. Not necessarily go by a guy, but to get a guy off balance with his dribble, and he's gotten better at that.
There's a turnover as Jarmel Reed able to pick up the loose ball. Sophomore from Georgia, and high expectations for the sophomore class. 5 underclassmen expected to contribute a great deal this year here in the Pacific Northwest. Great pass to the baseline finds Reed, and he's able to finish.
Well, you wouldn't have seen that last year simply because Daniel Gomez, who threw the pass, wasn't playing. He's excited just to be out on the floor, and he's producing.
Bailey for 3, and that was a shot that Portland really needed.
Well, that's the shot they're going to get. In the 1-3-1, again, those corners, those diagonal passes, that's what's open. So even if you get the basketball to the middle, you'll have some type of diagonal pass to throw.
Nelson tries to counter from the outside. Rebound pulled by Nicholas.
Now Oregon State in the 2-3.
Nicholas to the baseline, and he's rejected. Nice interior defense by the Beavers. Other way. Air ball, and it's cleaned up by Gomez.
How about that? The guy who blocks the shot sprints down the floor and is the recipient of the finish.
24-16 Oregon State. Nicholas has a chance to carve into that lead at the line.
This is a very welcome sight for Oregon State. Daniel Gomez's production. You know what you're going to get from Devon Collier, who's back after the 1-game suspension, and Eric Moreland when he comes back during Pac-12 play. But the question was, what's your depth look like when those guys are either in foul trouble or aren't available to play, which is the case for Moreland still and was the case for Collier last game. And Gomez looking good.
And Gomez got the foul, although he's been playing with a lot of energy since coming into the game. We mentioned Nicholas smooth at the line. 73%. Gomez gets the cheer from the crowd here in Corvallis, appreciative of his efforts. A year ago, Ryan Nicholas earned all WCC honorable mention honors. Coming up at halftime, it'll be the State Farm halftime report. We'll check in with Ashley Adamson in the studio and recap another interesting night around the Pac-12 last night. That's all coming up at halftime from Gill Coliseum. 24-18, Oregon State with the lead on the basketball.
I'm surprised Portland hasn't forced Oregon State to shoot more three-point shots. Oregon State didn't shoot very well against Coppin State, and already tonight, 1 of 3.
Excellent ball movement, everything but the bucket for Collier. Could not throw it down.
You got to credit Oregon State, though, for
Wintering on the drive. And he ran into a backpedaling Angus Brandt.
Oregon State tonight following their game plan, trying to get the ball to the paint. You don't get an easier shot than that missed dunk Devon Collier just had, maybe still getting his legs underneath him. And Wintering taking advantage in transition.
Well, you talked about TJ Campbell. There's a connection there with Wintering. Before Wintering's family moved to North Carolina, where he played for Muggsy Bogues, he went to the same high school in Phoenix that produced TJ Campbell. And Campbell then told the Pilots coaching staff, watch out for this guy. He's got big potential.
And it shows.
Does not look like a freshman out there. Plays with a lot of confidence in his first year of college basketball.
And he's a long-term guy. He's starting as a freshman, but it'll really pay dividends by the time he's a junior and senior, and even as soon as next year, where you'll see it all pay off, all this experience he's getting.
And he's been thrust into the starting lineup in part because of the concussion that David Carr suffered.
There goes Oregon State's freshman guard, Malcolm Duvivier, struggling a little bit with the pressure from Portland.
And that brings the timeout. Duvivier, freshman from north of the border. The last time Roberto Nelson was on this floor, he had an amazing game, knocking down shots from all over the court. 36 on his way to a career high.
When the game started off, he was trying to get everybody involved and let the game come to himself, but it became very clear quickly that if he didn't assert himself and force the issue a bit, then Oregon State would struggle. They still ended up struggling, but it would have been even worse if he didn't turn it up another notch as he did.
And he did it relatively efficiently, 12 to 26, and had to play 37 minutes in the process. That's filling up the stat sheet.
Well, that's why he worked in the offseason. He knew that he'd be counted on heavily, had to get in shape in order to play big-time minutes and in order to be the type of leader for this team that he wanted to be.
Olaf Schaftenauer returns for the Beavers. Brandt to the baseline, and now back up top to Nelson. In a crowd, Collier couldn't get it, but it's cleaned up by Brandt.
If Oregon State could have had 5 or 6 possessions like this in their Sunday night game, they'd be 1-0 right now. Already.
Bobby Sharp, catch and shoot for 3. He's going to the line. He's got a quick release.
He does. That time Oregon State trying to contest.
Charlie Martin got him.
Portland, they're looking to attack in transition. They're not wasting any time. And each time it looks like Oregon State's about to extend the lead and really open this game up. Portland answers.
Sharp, the JUCO transfer. Last year good on 88% of his free throws. First team All-California Community College honors. 17 points a game at Santa Rosa JC. And coming off a 10-point performance against UC Davis in 19 minutes of action, he has made an immediate impact on the Portland Pilot roster.
Like Wintering, he'll get a lot of chances this season. And we've talked a bit about Oregon State's offense. And let's talk about Portland's defense. They have to do a better job down in the paint, forcing Oregon State to kick the basketball out.
Collier muscles up, and this time able to drop it down. He's got 6. 8-point Oregon State lead coming up on 8 minutes left in the first half. Kevin Bailey drops it off. A third look. Nicholas can't get it down after Riley Barker missed the pair, but another chance for Kevin Bailey to the baseline. Wintering, 125 to shoot, and he'll reset offensively.
And that rebound by Nicholas, he had a chance to go up with the basketball rather than coming back down on his feet. And with all those trees down there for Oregon State, Collier, Schaftenauer, Angus Brandt, you don't want to bring the ball back down if you don't have to.
Barker drew the double. Bobby Sharp for 3.
All's well that ends well.
You get the feeling if it gets in his hands, it's going up. If it feels like leather, let it go.
Why not? Why not? Great stroke. Oregon State's in that 1-3-1. They're leaving those corners open. Offense is going to come for Portland, but defensively, I do not know why they keep electing to allow Oregon State to post up one-on-one and not shoot three-pointers. Make them kick the ball out.
Brad goes with a lefty hook, can't roll it down. Wintering, pushing tempo up the floor. Sharp with a tough look, can't drop it down. Here's Hallis Cook, true freshman from St. Anthony High School, that outstanding basketball school in New Jersey, producing so many big-time players. High-low. That means somebody's open from the perimeter. How about Angus Brandt? Unable to hit, and there's the whistle.
You can tell Brandt still has to get his legs underneath him. A lot of his shots are short, but that's okay because he's got his running mate back tonight, Devon Collier, eating Portland up on inside, saying if you play me one-on-one, it's a wrap.
Tis the season of more. More shopping, more dining out, and along with it, more identity theft. By the time this holiday season is over, more than 1 million identities may be stolen. Every time you pull out your wallet, shop online, or hit the road, you give thieves a chance to ruin your holiday. By the time you're done watching this, as many as 35 more identities may be stolen. You can't be on the lookout 24/7, but LifeLock can. They're relentless about protecting your identity every minute of every day. When someone steals your identity and tries to take over your bank accounts, drain the equity in your home, or even tries to buy a car in your name, LifeLock is on the job 24/7. When they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you by text, phone, or email, protecting you before the damage can be done. LifeLock wants you to be protected this holiday season, so they're giving you 60 days of protection risk-free.
My years as a prosecutor taught me that you have to be proactive to protect yourself from crime, and that's especially true of identity theft. That's why I'm a member of LifeLock.
No one protects you better than LifeLock, and they stand behind their protection with the power of their $1 million service guarantee. In fact, last year, LifeLock protected over 2 million people during the holidays, and now they can do it for you. Try LifeLock's protection 60 days risk-free. Call 1-800-431-0256 or go to lifelock.com/holidays. Use promo code HOLIDAYS. Order now and get a special holiday gift, a document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free. Call 1-800-431-0256 or go online and let LifeLock protect your identity for 60 days risk-free. Because during the holidays, keeping your identity protected means keeping your family protected.
It's big. I mean, you know, the last game we played 10 players, 7 of them were freshmen or sophomores, and we'll need his leadership, we'll need his experience, we'll need his rebounding, we'll need his scoring. So he's going to be a big part for us.
Robinson happy to have Collier back. Devon with 6 points, 3 rebounds, as you see so far. But they're waiting for the return of Eric Moreland, suspended for the first 14 games of the season for violating team rules, and that's a big absence. Averaged 9 points, 10.5 rebounds a game last year, plus all of that defensive presence he brought the team.
Yeah, if you looked at Oregon State's team last year, you said the strength for them coming into this season was supposed to be their front court with Moreland, Collier, Brandt. And without Moreland there, you miss a lot defensively, as you said, with rebounds. And in the 1-3-1, you had Moreland at the top of this 1-3-1, so imagine how effective that would be with the way Portland is struggling with it tonight.
Beeves in the crowd. Nelson emerges with the basketball. Drops it down to Brandt.
I don't know that Portland is going to be able to defend Oregon State effectively in a man-to-man. I think their best option eventually is going to be going zone and trying to force Oregon State again to shoot the three. Oregon State 1 of 7 this game from the three-point line.
Tanner Riley into the game for the Pilots. Senior from North Bend, Washington. You can see Oregon State controlling all the action in the lane. Big difference from what we saw in the season opening loss to Coppin State when they were far too reliant on the outside shot against the zone. Shot clock at 3, and there's the turnover. Cook on his way to the goal and finishes.
Hallis Cook in help defense something Oregon State struggled with heavily last year, the defensive rotations.
Back the other way, Kevin Bailey can't haul in his miss. Getting some separation on the scoreboard now. Oregon State leading Portland 32-23.
Alice Cook is a very promising freshman. I saw him practice with the team.
Off the ball, get a whistle. We'll have a conversation briefly. Inadvertent whistle. Saw the indication of my bad.
Going back to it, Alice Cook, a very promising freshman. Saw him practice with the team and talked to Craig Robinson a little bit after the practice, and he said, you know, he's one of the best incoming guys I've had, and I believe it. He just had a good sense of poise, good feel for the game. I think he'll have a good future here.
You can tell he's got confidence. Check out the shoes. My man's making a fashion statement as well.
Yeah, that says I have game, and you can laugh at my shoes if you want to. No matter what color I wear, I'm going to prove it on the court.
I'm admiring him.
I'm going to prove it on the court.
You better back it up on the floor if you're going to wear that color. Nelson all the way and able to finish on the move. He is such a dynamic scorer. Means everything to this program in just about every phase of the game. 8 points now of 4 of 7 for Roberto. And he knows how to finish.
You have to remember, we're talking about one of the top scorers, not only in the conference, in the country. I mean, right under 20 points per game, had some big 30-point outputs last season, already had it this season, not only in their exhibition game, but in their first real game. This guy can score.
Well-designed inbounds play. Finds Nicholas, who drops it in.
Nice answer from Portland.
Nicholas up to 8 points now. Victor Robbins. Watched by Tanner Riley to Angus Brandt, spoke free. Nelson with still plenty of time to make his move. And no surprise when the whistle comes in that scenario, it's not going to be a 50-50 call.
It's usually going to favor the offensive player, but right here, oh, that's a block because as Roberto started his upward motion, Nicholas was not set yet.
Placing Presley and Nicholas.
I've said it once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again after that. That block charge call is the reason why I would never think about being an official. The toughest call in basketball.
Although it's going to Portland, so it was a charge.
Yeah, they called a charge. They called a charge, but it should have been a block.
Tough to ascertain, especially now with the new rules changes. You can assume the block about 90% of the time.
Yep.
Nelson knifes his way inside, and he's working his way to the line. Corey Tilkey was in there defensively. So we've been talking a lot about the new rules changes, and they're in a response to scoring being at an all-time low last year, and the idea being that it's no longer going to be that subjective of a call. They want to eliminate flopping, so the block is going to be called the majority of the time this year.
Well, and on that last play, should have been called because, again, Roberto Nelson started his upward motion for his shot before Nicholas was set.
Tanner Riley picks up the personal foul.
And here's the play we're talking about. You see Roberto Nelson going up. His arms are going up before Nicholas is set. His feet were still moving over. So no matter what it looks like, the referees are looking at, did the upward motion start before the defender is set?
Players are figuring out the new nuances, officials and coaches the same, and you just wonder, will there be continuity when we get to conference play? But it's a huge point of emphasis throughout college basketball because a year ago, scoring dipped to 67.5 points a game, the lowest since 1982.
Well, another thing to consider if we're trying to up scoring, let's bring the shot clock down a little bit. I mean, 35 seconds is a lot of time.
Wintering. Giroux, the international player, does have the outside stroke, but can't roll it down. Cook with the rebound. Bobby Sharp to Wintering, and he rolls it down.
Every time Oregon State's had a chance to really seize full control of the game, Portland finds a way to answer, whether it's a turnover from Oregon State or just good, solid execution on an out-of-bounds play from Portland.
Wintering 6 points on 2 of 4 shooting. Plays with a lot of poise for a true freshman from North Carolina.
It's going to be his responsibility to lead this team, and his first task early in the season is figuring out this 1-3-1 defense that Oregon State is playing. If he can help his teammates figure it out and get shots, we've already seen from Sharp, and we know what Nicholas can do. They can knock him down.
Well, these are exciting times here in Corvallis A $15 million structure built. The new basketball practice facility opened this fall, should help in recruiting. We know how important that is to keep up with other programs. Over 34,000 square feet. Some sharp, glittering new courts, locker rooms, player lounge, and the basketball offices.
I've already expressed my envy to Craig Robinson that was not here when I had the chance to play. I mean, how can you be a student athlete and come here and see that and not want to be a part? He said that they've won a lot of the recruiting battles already from kids who have come and seen that facility, and it's easy to understand why.
Vivier swings.
One possession.
Gomez high for the rebound, and he really does have nice hops.
Yeah, Portland forced Oregon State to shoot the three, and you got the missed shot like you want, but then the tough part is finding a man to box out while you're in that zone.
Robbins took the step. Traveling is the call. It's Oregon State leading their regional rivals 36-27 on Pac-12 networks.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
It's a true college town, and it's a college town in a fashion that other ones aspire to be but aren't. You look at our campus right here, you literally, from where you live to where you go to school to the football complex, you literally can do it all in about a half-mile round trip. The student body's so compelling and so close to one another that there's nowhere that they go here that they're not among their fellow students. When you step out your door, I mean, there's your classmate. We're still young, but I think we're playing faster. I think we've had really good work. We're in a little bit better shape, and I think we've had a good spring. The growth process, that's fun to see. It's amazing how fast it goes. I guess the variation every day is probably what's most exciting.
Tonight, it's a men's hoop showdown in Seattle. At 8, C.J. Wilcox and the Washington Huskies take on UC Irvine.
C.J. Wilcox on fire.
Live coverage starts tonight at 8 on Pac-12 networks.
Here in Corvallis, college basketball is our focus. On Saturday, though, it's a huge Pac-12 football tripleheader with bowl implications at 11. Mike Leach and the Washington State Cougars battle Arizona. 2:30, it's Cal and Colorado. And then at 6:30, primetime matchup, Oregon State and number 19 Arizona State. Live coverage starts Saturday at 10 with a pregame show on Pac-12 networks. Storm Woods in the house, hoping to shine against the Sun Devils. But he could play a little hoops if he wanted to as well. That guy's a baller.
Oh, yeah, last year they had at halftime had a slam dunk contest with football players, and Storm was up there, 360, and I don't know if he completed it, but he was up there.
There's Corey Tilkey, senior from Bakersfield, gives it up to Winnering.
Portland just standing.
Winnering finds some room, tries to get creative, but can't roll it down.
It's the right play.
Collier gives it up. Robbins going to the line. Good look by Collier, setting him up.
You'll get that from Devon Collier, the ability to grab the rebound and take it coast to coast and make the right decision. He's been doing this since his freshman season. It's not like this is something he worked on in the offseason. And that's a luxury when your big guy can get the ball and allow your guards to leak out and get transition going a lot quicker.
Bobby Sharp got the foul. Robbins, career high 11 points in 21 minutes of action in the season opening loss to Coppin State. Did not play much last year and was vocal about it at times. Only averaged 1 point in 5 minutes of action.
Well, he went on record in the student newspaper saying that he should have been playing more and that the departed Ahmad Starks shouldn't have been playing over him. And he said a lot of stuff you don't expect from a freshman who didn't get a lot of opportunities, so he'll get the chances to prove himself this season.
Nicholas can't hit the step back shot. Collier out to Robbins. Vivier trying to create, unable to hang on.
Another bad play for Duvivier, and Craig Robinson's not wasting any time. He's going to have Duvivier come to the bench, talk to him a little bit, tell him what he can do better. But Duvivier, a very promising freshman, just like Hallis Cook. Oregon State electing to go some more 2-3 rather than the 1-3-1, although they had a lot of success with the 1-3-1. They're just giving Portland some different looks.
Shot clock at 15, the overplay. Nelson is rewarded.
You know, Brian, what happens a lot of times, especially with younger players, they make a few good plays, but they're so results-oriented, they don't realize they made a good play. Wintering made a nice drive, missed a layup 2 plays prior, and instead of going back to that type of basketball where you penetrate and see what you can get out of it, they become passive and go a different direction.
Collier getting physical. Jeroen with the personal foul, 9 now in terms of team fouls committed by the Pilots. Collier from the Bronx in New York City, started his high school career at All Hallows High School and then transferred to St. Anthony's in Jersey City. That high school we're talking about with Hallis Cook. A reminder, coming up at halftime, it's the State Farm Halftime Report. We'll check in with Ashley Adamson and take you through all the details from last night around the Pac-12. Plus, we'll get you set for Western Carolina and Oregon. That game coming up after we're done here in Corvallis.
Oregon, very exciting team. The only ranked team playing this evening. Really exciting backcourt, a lot of transfers.
39-27, Oregon State leads it. Largest advantage of the ball game. Nicholas needs some help.
Again, Oregon State in that 2-3 zone. Let's see if Portland penetrates it with the zone. That's a great play.
Well designed and well executed for the bucket.
You know, make or miss, that's a good play, and that's where Portland has to have the maturity and the discipline and know that and to continue going to that, because Oregon State's leaving that middle open. So if you're Portland, you have to explore that.
Ryan Nicholas now with 10 points in the game. Less than 2 minutes left in the first half. Nelson draws the attention. Shaftanar rims out. And we've got contact inside the lane.
Oregon State 1 of 9 from the three-point line.
Well, the number wasn't good the other night against Coppin State. 7 of 27 for 3 for 26%.
Coming into this season, their front court was their power. And it's not that they don't have good guard play, which is evident by Roberto Nelson being on the court. But you want to take away a team's strongest point, and then for Oregon State, it's that front line. Collier, Angus Brandt. You want to force those guys to kick the ball out.
Here's Shea Njai, 7-footer, true freshman from Senegal, into the game. Did not play against Coppin State, making his Oregon State debut.
Craig Robinson very excited about him. Sees a lot of potential in him, sees a lot of Daniel Gomez in him, which isn't going to say much for Oregon State fans because they haven't gotten a chance to see Gomez a lot, but has that same type of motor, go down, rebound. Not somebody they can throw to on a block to make a move, but he could just fill in supplementary roles.
Bailey hung in the air and then had no one to throw the ball to. Got caught in mid-decision. Njai straight up, and he's got it.
Well, speaking of the guy we were talking about, you saw him on the defensive end using his length just to get his hand on the basketball, run down the court, and be ready for a Roberto Nelson drop-off.
Well, he's a work in progress offensively. Graduated from Army-Navy Academy in Carlsbad in Southern California. Coming up on the final minute of the first half, Oregon State asserting themselves as this one has progressed, leading Portland 41-29, thanks in part to that decided advantage in the paint. And the easy flush for Riley Barker.
At that time, Nicholas was trying to throw the pass to the opposite sideline, so he's fortunate that he got tipped.
About a 16-second difference between the clocks.
Olaf Schaffner has a height advantage, being defended by Bailey.
Reed hands it off to Roberto Nelson, watched by Bobby Sharp.
They're going to go 1-4 flat, let Roberto create.
Nelson elevates. And John battle for that rebound, but couldn't pull it down. Shot clock off, 18 seconds left.
You have to locate Sharp.
Wintering. Nicholas. And it's knocked down by Barker, high to the rim. Nelson at the horn, and that takes us to halftime as Portland draws closer. Oregon State had pushed that lead to a dozen, but they lead a climbing the all-time coaching victories list. As you see, with a win tonight, he'll tie Jim Anderson, who took over when Ralph Miller walked away. Jim, a long-time assistant to the Hall of Famer, and piled up a good number of victories on his own from 1990 to 1995.
Jim Anderson, a mainstay here at Oregon State University and here in Gill Coliseum, just a couple rows up behind Coach Robinson is where he sits every home game.
Oregon State with the basketball to start the second half. Collier into the lane, and the lefty goes southpaw, can't roll it in. Bodies on the floor, arrow belongs to the Portland Pilots.
I'm curious to see what adjustments Portland is going to make defensively. That possession, they opened up in the man-to-man and allowed Devon Collier, a 65% field goal shooter for his career, the opportunity to just back down, and you're not going to find success that way. So very curious to see if they dig down and help.
Ryan Nicholas maintaining his momentum from the 27 points he had against UC Davis, career high, 10 points in the first half on 3 of 9 shooting. Bobby Sharp chiming in with 10 points for the Pilots off the bench. Wintering retreats. Wintering weaves his way through, back
pass.
out to Presley,
That's
and
the
it was
pass.
all set up by the assist.
Well, that's the pass we talked about in the first half. Even if you dribble drive in there, there will be a diagonal pass open, and I like that adjustment from Eric Reveneau and his staff, informing his players of that. Nice backdoor pass right
Speaking
there.
of,
from
one
Devon
good
Collier.
pass sets up another.
Again, Devon Collier off the bounce, dribbling at Victor Robbins' defender. As you take a look first at Wintering with the dribble drive and that diagonal skip, it's open. And Portland has already shown that they have the shooters to knock it down. And there, Devon Collier with the dribble drive. The defender falls asleep for 1 second and allows Robbins the backdoor opportunity.
Presley has to sit with his 3 personal fouls. Robbins merely 44% at the line last year, but didn't get a lot of looks, just 7 to 16.
Now Oregon State falls into the 2-3 instead of the 1-3-1.
Nicholas open for the outside look. Collier showing his leaping ability.
That's a great shot for Portland.
A transition prior to the shot. Brandt traveled.
He's trying to gather his steps, and Angus Brandt is known for jumping off of his right foot. He had the ability and the chance to do that right there, but maybe you wonder if the whole knee injury has him thinking about it.
Well, not everyone's Adrian Peterson. When you come back from an ACL, doubts linger.
Yeah.
Open look from the corner, no surprise. It's Sharp who stripes it. This guy has amazing touch.
Where did we say the shots would come from? The diagonal passes, the corners.
Lead now down to 5. Brandt watched by Vander Mars. Collier with the handle.
Brandt not looking at his outside shot. He's capable of knocking down a three-point shot. He has to be ready to step into it.
Yeah, he hit 49% of them 2 years ago from the perimeter. The ball was adjusted in air, and Nelson couldn't drop it down. Nicholas pulls up, short, and Brandt controls.
In that possession, I felt like Nicholas could have gotten a little closer to the hoop, only had one man to beat, but he likes that short pull-up jump shot.
Nelson drops it off. Robbins working his way to the line. Wanted to finish with some flair, but banged on his way to the goal. Nicholas got him.
Roberto Nelson has gone on record saying that Victor Robbins is more athletic than Jared Cunningham, the former Oregon State guard who's now with the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA, one of the most athletic guards to play at Oregon State. So that's putting a lot on it. But you see why Roberto has the confidence. Robbins is clearly able to go up and finish above the rim.
And Robbins was 6'4" in high school when the recruiting process started. Now listed at 6'7", but still has that guard mindset.
Yeah, he's a bigger guard. You always got to be careful with those height listings, though. You know how
listed was the key word.
Listed. That's the key word.
I'm 6'4".
Yeah, right.
Guy.
I'm 6'10". He definitely is a bigger guard, though, and he uses that size at the top of the 1-3-1. He's made it a nightmare for the Portland guards tonight.
Sharp, if you give him space, he can make you pay. Not that time. A couple players got tangled up. And Collier, slow to get up. He'll take every second he can.
Yeah, that was a good look for Sharp, and if he had made that, we're talking about a 2-point game. So Portland,
Nicholas picking up 2 fouls quickly there.
Portland finding that rhythm that they needed to find. So now it's going to be up to Oregon State to answer. If I'm Oregon State, you're still being defended man-to-man. Get into that interior. Stick Devon Collier down there. See if Portland's going to dig down and help, or if they're going to play him straight up.
Does not get any easier for either of these teams. Next up for the Beavers at Maryland on Sunday, taking on an ACC team. And for Portland, they're going to take on presumably the #1 team in the nation. They're going to East Lansing, Michigan, to take on Michigan State, coming off their win over Kentucky last night in Chicago.
Definitely doesn't get any easier.
But this game's still very much waiting to be won. Just a 5-point margin. Kevin Bailey, skip pass. Wintering, thought about instead, continues the ball movement. And Bailey turned it over.
Bailey has to be ready to step into his shot. He's open on that driver. Get that skip pass swung. You have Sharp sitting in the corner, opposite, wide open.
Charlie Barton finishes on the move. Double, crowds the corner. Another defensive stop for the Beavs. Robbins off the spin move. Collier couldn't hang on.
Oregon State's a team that likes to get up and go, but right there, Robbins maybe needs to pull it back, and that's some of the inexperience from playing, and that's why you have guys like Charlie Barton penetrating, leading the way as the point guard, and Robbins, as he gets more experience, would know when to attack, when to pull it out.
Portland's hanging around in this game. Trailing Oregon State 46-39. Contact, no whistle. Barker able to drop it down.
That's the high-low. You have to respect Nicholas's ability to knock down that elbow jump shot. Although he's missed it quite a few times already, you know what he's capable of doing, so you have to respect him.
Brandt isoed with Barker. Continues to work his way through that sequence, but could not put it in the buckets.
You got a 4-on-4 opportunity here.
And Wintering recognizes with the jump shot from the foul line. Rims out. Nelson, intermediate jump shots. Oregon State led by 8 points at halftime. Things getting tighter to start the second half, thanks in part to Bobby Sharp, dialed in from distance.
Being a team captain last year, you have a lot of responsibilities. You can't slip up because you have to be an example for all the younger guys. And we were a very young team, so a lot of the guys were very impressionable. I was trying to work as hard as I could and, just set a good example for those guys. You got to compete for everything you do. It's not like you're just going to get handed something. You got to work for everything that you want. If we want to build a program that's going to be stable and it's going to be successful in the future, not just 1 or 2 years, you got to have the right guys. And I feel like we have the right guys, but we really need to get them on the right path, set them up with a good foundation their freshman year, so that when younger guys come in and they're their mentors, they can just follow by example with the older guys, and I'm trying to be one of those guys. I'm Jake Fisher. I play football at the University of Arizona. Bear down and go Cats.
This great Rose Bowl moment is presented by State Farm. California's Roy Riegels was an All-American and is a member of the Golden Bears Hall of Fame. But unfortunately, he'll be forever known for his infamous blunder in the 1929 Rose Bowl.
Stumpy Thomason of Georgia Tech has the ball. He's hit. He fumbles. The ball is picked up by Cal center Roy Riegels. But wait a minute. Roy Riegels is running the wrong way.
With the ball spotted at Cal's 1-yard line, Riegels' gaffe turned out to be devastating as Georgia Tech got a safety 4 plays later and held on to win the game 8-7.
Why me?
After the play, he'd forever be known as Wrong Way Riegels. However, he put his shame behind him and played brilliantly enough to earn a place in the Rose Bowl's Hall of Fame. Saturday, it's a huge Pac-12 football triple-header with major bowl implications on the line. At 11, Mike Leach and the Washington State Cougars storm into Tucson to take on the Arizona Wildcats.
Decker with a great cut for a touchdown.
Then at 2:30, the Cal Bears head to Boulder to battle with Colorado.
Touchdown, Buffaloes!
And at 6:30, it's a primetime Pac-12 matchup as the Oregon State Beavers face off against the powerful Arizona State Sun Devils. Coverage begins Saturday at 10 with the pregame show on Pac-12 Networks.
The toughest part adjusting from Montreal is probably being far away from my parents and family. I never really considered the NCAA because I thought I wanted to continue at elite. At some point I saw that it was just kind of getting hard for me and I needed something new. I've heard many good things about Utah. I just thought I would be a perfect fit for me. I'm just enjoying the whole experience, being with the team. I never really had a team back home. It was more on my own. So just being able to do what I like, being able to qualify with the team for every national so far, I think all of that is just a big accomplishment. Our coaches, I think they're really great because they don't only focus on gymnastics, they also want us to do really well at school and be able to have life lessons. I would say it's a really fun team and we get along well, so it's just enjoyable to come here every day. Hi, my name is Nancy Damianova. I'm at the University of Utah and I'm in gymnastics. Go Utes!
Portland Pilots making this a competitive game here at Oregon State, trailing the Beavers by 5 points. Eric Reveneau has a diverse basketball background. Played his college ball at Stanford, part of a Cardinal team that went to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1942 when he was on the farm. And then after he played internationally in Japan, came back. Longtime assistant coach to Mike Montgomery, instrumental in their recruiting successes, and he's pleased to have an experienced team. Pilots get 4 starters back this year, 6 of their top 7 scorers, and while it's been rough the last couple years in Portland, coming off the 11-win season, just 7 victories the year before, from 2009 to 2011, they averaged 20 wins a season.
I always felt like Portland got a bit of a steal when they got him. I was introduced to Eric Reveneau during my playing time. He was an assistant at Stanford, and boy, I tell you what, the way he and Mike Montgomery worked together and the teams that they put forth, you could just see that he would have success once he had his opportunity to run his own program, and he's had that at Portland.
I would mention that we were classmates at Stanford, but that would make me way too old. There's no way that's possible. Shot clock at 10. Giroux puts it on the floor. Probably not what Reveneau drew up, but it's effective.
That's a nice move. If he's capable of putting on the floor with that level of comfort, then let him do it.
The lead is down to 3 for Oregon State, 46-43 over Portland.
Portland up in the defensive intensity quite a bit.
Charlie Barton needs some assistance. Robbins all the way to the lane, and he's working his way to the line. Ran into the double team that came over there for Portland.
You like the recognition from Victor Robbins, the quick decision. He knew what he wanted to do when he caught the ball. But if you're Portland, why are you closing out so hard at the three-point shooters? Again, Oregon State only 1 of 9 from the three-point line. Now, Brian, we're not saying that they aren't capable of knocking down a three-point shot. We're just saying they're leading the points in the paint battle right now, 32-14. So rather than giving them something that you're already losing at, let them knock down some threes and prove to you that they can beat you out there.
Riley Barker picked up his 2nd personal foul, but your thoughts echoing some of the comments made by Craig Robinson when we chatted with him prior to the game. And there is the explanation. This is still a young team. 7 underclassmen involved in the season opening loss to Coppin State, but basketball is problem solving. You have to learn how things play out on the fly.
Exactly, and despite the age of the team, it's preseason. Everybody's trying to figure out their lineups right now. You're shuffling through the deck, seeing what you have.
Giroux, oh, that's rejected, going the other way. Good defense. Will it lead to offense? Robin slips, and he travels. Tried to plant his foot and was unable to maintain his footing.
Well, in that one you don't mind. A few plays before we saw Robbins attack when he maybe should have backed up, but here he had a one-on-one, was going to Euro step, and you see that knee give out.
And Robbins will take a seat. Jarmel Reed back into the game, sophomore from Georgia.
Oregon State sitting in the 2-3 zone. They have to know who the shooters are. It's a great entry pass.
And it's a three-point chance. Giroux muscling up in the paint. He's going to the line. Big man from Ukraine, fouled by Angus Brandt, his second.
Well, terrific pass from the freshman. You see Devon Collier cannot leave Sharp in the corner because Sharp's already proven he can knock down the three. Direct pass into the post, and just a nice shot by the big fella.
Giroux played very well at the European Under-18 Championships. That got him a scholarship offer to West Virginia, but only played 33 minutes last year for Bob Huggins. Rolls it down for the three-point play. And it's a 2-point game here in Corvallis.
It's going to be interesting to see if this game remains a 2 to 5 point game going down the stretch. How does Oregon State respond? A lot of pressure to win this game after losing their opener to Coppin State.
Brandt, watched by Barker. Reed lost it. Brandt recovers. Shot clock at 13, as you see.
Push off.
And it was clear.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Trying to get open.
So Roberto picks up the foul.
You know, right now, I wonder for Oregon State if Devon Collier is tired. He's your best low post presence. He had a field day in the first half. Here, Angus Brandt trying to go to Roberto Nelson, and that's clear. That's right in front of the referee, but Devon Collier has to get some touches.
Here's Bobby Sharp. Kilkey continues the movement. Back to Sharp. On the weak side, battle for the basketball controlled by Nelson. Alice Cook gives it up. Body's banging, and it's Collier going to the line. Last tie in this game was at 10 with 14 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the first half.
Well, how about that recognition from the freshman? You don't expect that from a freshman. You expect it from one of your upperclassmen guards. We talk about Devon Collier being your best low post presence. Give him the basketball. He has a knack for getting fouled and being successful in the paint.
Giroux with his second personal foul.
Devon Collier at the line for the Beavers, shooting 2.
Collier, we mentioned the number of 62% from the line in his career. Just like Alice Cook, played some of his high school basketball at St. Anthony in Jersey City, New Jersey, for the Hall of Famer Bob Hurley.
Very talented player. Last season, he didn't have the type of season he wanted to, so you can consider it a down year for him. And in the down year, he still averaged 12.5.
Then we show you the total of free throws. If you've been watching college basketball at the outset of the season, that's a low number.
It is. It is, Rose. It's been called a lot tighter. Teams have been in the 1-and-1, the double bonus a lot sooner. It's just the result of two teams, one of which being Portland, who shot a lot of jump shots, as you see again.
Giroux is feeling it. Volney getting involved offensively. The lead is down to 1 for Oregon State. Unexpected productivity on the offensive end.
Well, that's what you always like. If you're Eric Revenue, guys who you don't expect to score, if they add something, that's always a bonus.
Reed was trying to make something happen there.
Oregon State is too stagnant.
Shot clock at 10. Nelson makes his move. Nifty gives it up. No whistle. Collier able to finalize in the paint.
Well, I was wondering when they were going to get him the ball, whether it's early in the shot clock or late. I mean, how much more does this kid have to prove that he can produce down low in the paint? Nice move from Roberto Nelson.
Wintering, one more pass to Sharp. Gives it back to his running mate in the backcourt. Tilkey, that's a 3. Collier trying to change the tempo of the game and get his teammates play a little bit more physically down in the paint.
Roberto wants a post-up opportunity. He can do this.
No question about it. How many times did we see that last year when he led the Pac-12 in scoring in conference games? Roberto is starting to feel his rhythm a bit more. 12 points for the ball game. And Giroun foul putting it up. Brandt, his third personal foul. Voldy Giroun from Ukraine is shining tonight for the Pilots on the road. But Roberto Nelson always there when the Beavers need a bucket.
Hi, I'm Herb Sendek, head basketball coach at Arizona State. You're watching Pac-12 Network. Go Devils.
Coming in Tillman Tunnel is one of the most intense, passionate things that I've ever been a part of. And so the fans are what we call the 12th man. They're the key to what we're doing, and the atmosphere and how they cheer and how they make Sun Devil Stadium a great home field advantage is absolutely incredible. Running out of the tunnel is something that I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to do, and I hope I get to do it till the day I die.
Softball program here is awesome. It's one of the top programs. You got the lake, beautiful, green, fresh air, just the program on top of it, great school, and softball. Coach Tar, she's played the game. She's constantly teaching us on and off the field. She's able to bring that friend/mom personnel and just likes to connect with us and know what's going on in school, family, not only softball. I like to lead by example. It's important for me to make sure I'm always in check and make sure my mind's right, and then help others get their mind right and bring the team together. What I'd like to accomplish here with the time that I've left is make a statement, be a team leader, and take this team as far as we could go every year. My name's Kylie Lawners. I play softball here at UW. Go Huskies.
Friday, it's a big night of men's hoops on the Pac-12 networks. At 6, Arizona State takes on Idaho State. Then at 8, Justin Cobbs and the Cal Golden Bears host Oakland. Or USC takes on Northern Arizona.
Up and good.
Live coverage starts Friday at 6 on Pac-12 networks.
Pac-12 basketball is brought to you by Esurance, now offering savings for Pac-12 students and alumni. Find out more at esurance.com/Pac-12. And by Quicken Loans, for mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze. Here in Corvallis, a couple moments ago, Devon Collier got tangled up inside as the double team came for the Portland Pilots. We'll take a close look at this sequence because Collier has left the floor and he's not on the bench. He's gone back to the locker room area.
This has happened to him a couple times in his career where he's gotten injured in the paint just because he's down there so much. You see the numbers, he's very productive. And then he'll go off to the side and get looked at by the trainer, Tom Fregosa, and then usually returns back on the court.
So we'll note that Collier left the bench area with about 11 minutes and 18 seconds to go in the first half. We'll note when he returns. And here is Giroun becoming an unlikely offensive lifeline for Portland in the second half. Second one rolls down.
And then comes Ryan Nicholas, who's been out for quite a while, as we see Devon Collier coming back onto the court. Very tough player. Very rarely do you see him knocked out of a game for good.
The lead is 3 for Oregon State. They have the basketball. Shofton out. Jamal Reed goes outside in and threw it to nobody in particular, hoping that Brandt could get there.
Well, Reed saw Brandt, and at that point it was too late because once you see him, that's your 1 second window that you have to throw the basketball. The pass was late. He was fortunate that Oregon State still kept possession.
Reed plays it in. Oh, that was a tough shot by Angus Brandt.
It was a terrific catch from Angus and a good look from Roberto on a pick and roll.
Brandt up to 11 points, 10 rebounds, his second career double-double coming back from the ACL injury this year. Thomas Vandermars fouled off the baseline.
Well, Brian, that pass we just saw Portland make, they did not make one time in the first half, and you just wonder why. You know, where's the recognition from the players on the floor? I mean, that's what's open, and that time they took advantage of it with their big guy down low under the basket. That's good ball movement.
Nicholas unable to spin it down, but you're right. Should have led to the bucket. Unselfish play by the Pilots. Oregon State on top by 5. And that was a wise play as Reed able to knife his way through the lane and put it down on the reversal. Kevin Bailey answers on the other end.
Trading some baskets. Maybe this is one of those games that you see which team can make a few stops in a row. That team comes out the victor.
Alice Cook matched up with Alec Wintering, and the double comes from Vandermars, and there's the turnover. Wintering up to the big man, and that's a clean block put together by Reed, getting off the floor.
On the turnover by Alice Cook, he didn't have a middle person. Nobody flashed to the middle until late. Roberto Nelson flashed at the last second, but by that time it was too late, and Reed with the hustle getting back, saving the transition layup.
They are letting them play. This is old school basketball tonight, and why not? Because we're going to see a lot of foul fest this year with the new rules.
Yeah, this is last year basketball.
Tilke into the lane with a nice jump stop, and he drops it down.
We've seen Bailey try to do that about 3 or 4 times tonight, and it's resulted in turnovers and missed shots, but that's the shot he's trying to get to, and he's confident in it.
Tilke's first hoop of the game. It's Oregon State by 3. Brandt with authority.
Brandt saying, what ACL injury?
And you get the feeling his confidence is growing every minute he's on the floor.
Well, 2 years ago, Craig Robinson was wanting this kind of play from Angus Brandt, wanted him to slam the basketball home because he rarely would do it on these type of possessions. But once you realize you can do it, you tend to go to it more often.
Delay in game warning on Oregon State, something to file away mentally for the juicier minutes of this game with 9 minutes left in regulation. Timeout Eric Reveneau as his team has clawed back. They trailed by 8 at halftime, pulling within 5 now. But Brandt making his presence felt in the paint.
My name is Tori Wilson. I go to the University of Utah and I do gymnastics. Getting a perfect 10 is probably one of the most incredible feelings I've ever experienced in gymnastics. The energy from the crowd and the response from my teammates, it was just the most exciting thing ever. We're definitely like a big family. I mean, we all get along, we love each other, and just have fun with each other, so it's really great. One of the biggest things I'll remember looking back at my time at Utah is the home meets. The crowd, our fans are amazing. We have so many at the home meets, so I think the team and just the positive feelings that come with all of that. Before leaving the University of Utah, it's always been one of my dreams to win an NCAA championship. I really want to be on a team where we can just have an amazing season and win first at nationals, so that would just be a dream come true.
This great Rose Bowl moment is presented by State Farm.
The first Rose Bowl game took place in 1902, but after Michigan trounced Stanford 49-0, the Tournament of Roses Committee replaced football with a different competition, Ben-Hur style chariot races. But when the danger involved became too much to take, the Tournament of Roses returned to the gridiron in 1916. Brown University, led by legendary running back Fritz Pollard, traveled to Pasadena to take on Washington State, with 8,000 spectators looking on. The Cougars held Pollard to 47 yards, while their own rushing attack gained 313 yards. And Washington State won the game 14-0. From that point on, the Rose Bowl became an annual tradition and would loom into the granddaddy of them all.
Pac-12 networks own the court. It's basketball West Coast style, and Pac-12 networks are your exclusive home court for all the action, with more games than anywhere else. 149 men's games, 101 women's games, a staggering 250 Pac-12 matchups. With studio shows, analysis, and interviews, we live Pac-12 basketball, from preseason to the tournaments, and everything in between. We cover the court like nowhere else, only on Pac-12 networks.
I came to the U of A basically because of the coaching staff. I respected them greatly. Obviously the weather here is second to none. Love pretty much everything about it. Coach Lopez has been coaching for many years. The best thing about it is he tells you how it is. He's not going to really sugarcoat anything. And he teaches you to grow up. Winning the World Series doesn't matter if you're a freshman or a fifth-year senior. I had to grow up so fast. I struggled at times through the year. The way our program's set up with all our coaching staff is they don't let you be down too long. They make you grow up real quick. So through experience, I learned it. Just was able to do well and take everything I learned during the year and bring it into the postseason, and it was unbelievable feeling. A feeling I'll never forget, and hopefully I can get that feeling again. Matthew True, play baseball for the University of Arizona. Bear down.
Well, we welcome those of you who watch women's volleyball between UCLA and Washington. It's Pac-12 basketball presented by Quicken Loans. Brian Weber, Lamar Hurd with you live in Corvallis, where Portland is hanging around and guys like Boldy Giroux chiming in offensively.
Well, you have to credit the coaching staff. In the first half, Portland really struggled just to get simple, good looks at the basket. They figured out the 1-3-1. They figured out their spots on the court. They figured out some high-low basketball, dribble penetration, just really simplifying the game and getting quality looks. And you have to give Boldy a lot of credit, because coming into the game, he's not somebody you have circled on the scouting report if you're Oregon State. You're looking more at Nicholas. You're looking at Sharp, who's a shooter. And Boldy Giroux has just been a huge bonus.
Giroux did not play impactful minutes in the win over UC Davis to start the season, but he has been a factor tonight with 20 to shoot. Bobby Sharp, Presley, and they find Nicholas. Shot was altered by Brandt underneath. 9 to shoot.
That's a great high-low from the Portland front line, and Oregon State using their length just to distract the shots, get their hands on the basketball. And here you can't fall asleep with only 9 seconds to go. You have to watch Sharp. He's a target running to one of the corners.
Bailey with 7 to shoot. Presley puts it up and banks it in. A three-point shot.
Sometimes when it's the end of a shot clock, those are the easiest shots to shoot because there's no consequence for missing. You don't think about it, you just let it go.
Well, it looked liberating as he let it go and knocked it down. 2-point game. Offense getting a bit more stagnant now for the Beavs, and it's Brandt calling the timeouts.
In a game that will probably come down to the wire, you don't want to waste a timeout right there. Oregon State was trying to make an effort to get the ball to Devon Collier, but didn't do it, and you have to answer because Portland is answering every time. I mean, you see the three with the shot clock running down over the outstretched arms of Shaftenar, or Brandt, whoever that was, whoever it is, they had a 2-3 inch advantage over him, but still able to knock it down.
Action continues tomorrow. Tune in for a men's hoop showdown in Seattle. The Anteaters of UC Irvine taking on C.J. Wilcox and the Washington Huskies. Coverage starts tomorrow at 8 on Pac-12 networks. That's 8 Pacific time, as UW missed the NCAA tourney last year, hoping to bounce back this year.
C.J. Wilcox, we talked about Roberto Nelson, the scorer he is. C.J. Wilcox on the same level. Someone who sits at the top of the scoring charts every year.
After Collier was shaken up, we'll see if he can find his offensive rhythm, but not going to get a chance. Nicholas, the overplay, and comes up with a swipe.
Another adjustment from Portland. They're not just sitting behind Devon Collier. They're making it tough for him to catch the basketball.
A 3 gives the Pilots the lead on this trip. 2 will tie it, and we're tied. Once more, Ryan Nicholas able to get creative inside, and then Vandermars was the one who finished.
That time the back line of the Oregon State defense fell asleep. You can't fall asleep for even a second. Now that Portland has their offensive scheme figured out.
Double team comes, but Brandt stepped out. So just when you think it's Nicholas doing everything offensively, it's Thomas Vandermars, the junior from the Netherlands, able to put it up strong and tie the game.
Hi, I'm Fred Harvey. I'm the director of track and field and cross country at the University of Arizona. Being a student athlete here at the University of Arizona is just that we take that very seriously. First and foremost, you have to graduate. That's not even a gray area. When we start talking about student athletes, you have to graduate. With track and field and cross country, what we do is we spread our training blocks out throughout the day, so it allows for our students to be able to go in, take classes when they need to take them, and not when we force them to take them. Consequently, I'll have coaches, we're on the field anywhere from 10 o'clock until 5 o'clock in the evening, working with individual groups. So in a sense, it's kind of like a personal training university, and the students get a chance to be true student athletes. The number one thing is that you're coming here to get a degree, and then we go to work from there.
This great Rose Bowl moment is presented by State Farm. In 1953, Republicans were back in the White House for the first time in 20 years.
And Marshall is Vice President-elect Richard Nixon.
And USC looked to break the Pac-12 7-year string of Rose Bowl futility.
The big question today is whether the University of Wisconsin's Badgers can grab another victory for the Big Ten. 1953's Rose Bowl game is ready to begin.
During a grueling first half, it was clear Wisconsin had met their match.
We've seen one of the greatest defensive battles possibly ever waged in gridiron history.
And in the second half, USC seized on a rare scoring opportunity.
Al Carmichael, a target in the end zone, complete for the touchdown.
While the Badgers never could, and the Pac-12 reclaimed Rose Bowl superiority.
The Trojans of Southern California capture the West Coast's first Rose Bowl victory since 1945.
Pac-12 basketball is brought to you by State Farm for auto, home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. And by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Oregon State with a rich basketball tradition. Hall of Famers like the Glove, Gary Payton, Ralph Miller, Slats Gill. But as for matters here in 2013, Portland fighting their way back to tie the game at 59, shooting 50% from the floor in the second half and taking advantage of 7 costly Oregon State turnovers.
And they've been protecting the basketball. In the first half, they had 9 turnovers. This half, only 2. Limiting in those, getting good looks has allowed them to knock them down and get back in this game.
That getting production from all over the roster, fellas like Thomas Vandermars and Boldy Jeroen playing critical minutes. Oregon State led by as many as 12 in the first half, had an 8-point advantage at halftime.
Well, you can see that one coming. Oregon State picking up full court pressure. And that's tough. Yeah, that's tough to do with the new rules. It's tough to guard anybody one-on-one full court without being able to impede their progress.
Anything that looks like a hand check, I think, is going to get a whistle, especially at the outset of the season.
Yeah, especially if you're out on the island. If there's something going on, it's a whole bunch of action and a much-needed transition basketball.
Nelson sets it up, and it's Cook who finalizes.
Now, if you're Oregon State, you need another stop. You have to buckle down, communicate, see ball and man at all times, locate shooters.
Bobby Sharp for 3. Bailey went high for the rebound, but it belongs to Oregon State.
Bailey was very high on that one. And letting your defense create offense for you is A great way to play basketball because you could depend on your defense night in and night out.
Inside 7 minutes left in the second half. Oregon State by 2. They've got the basketball. Collier, skip pass. Cook, pull-up jump shot on the weak side. Collier, but he pushed. So Devon picks up another personal, his first. I beg your pardon, his second.
Well, Devon very creative under the basket. He's one of the best rebounders in the conference because he can find ways to get away with that, but when you're standing right in front of the official, it's going to be tough.
Presley to Nicholas. Good anticipation by Cook. Not a great pass by Vandermars. And it's the true freshman going to the bucket.
It's a terrific read from Hallis Cook. Very high basketball IQ. I think one of the highest of any freshman Craig Robinson has ever brought into this program.
You're going to get a high basketball IQ playing for Bob Hurley. Nicholas has a reply. Timeout on the floor.
I feel like the possession before Nicholas passed up on that shot. And that's a look that he has to take.
Nicholas laboring from the field, merely 4 of 14, adding up to his 12 points. As we touched on, it's a Portland team picked by the conference coaches to finish 9th in the 10-team league. Conversely, the media poll for Oregon State has them slated at 10th in the Pac-12. I want to see the 8 teams that are better than Portland in the West Coast Conference. We know about Gonzaga. We know about St. Mary's, and BYU beat Stanford on Tuesday and put up a ton of points in that game.
Well, you look at the whole West Coast Conference right now. They are undefeated, 17-0 to start the season. So if Portland ends up losing this game, then they'll be the first loss in the conference. And with Michigan State next, I would assume that would be a loss, but
safe to presume that based on how deep and experienced Tom Izzo's team is and how well they played in the first half last night against Kentucky.
You know what, though, if you're Eric Ravenel, you just want your team to be competitive in that game and to go out and put up a good effort and grow in the process.
Cook to Collier. Cook gets it back. Shot clock dwindles to 15.
A lot of hand checking.
Yeah, a lot of contact. No whistle there. Schoftenar. Nelson with the shot clock at 6, all the way inside, found that space and able to work his way to the line.
Nelson sure knows how to utilize that shot fake. You have to respect it. You got to jump out there. He shoots over 40% from the three-point line. And he could be 4 or 5 feet off the line, and you still have to respect it because he can knock it down.
Vandermars has picked up his 3rd personal foul. Roberto, we mentioned a year ago, averaged 19 points in 12, or Pac-12 games, that is, to lead the conference. First Beaver to have that statistical achievement since Gary Payton did it in league games in 1990.
And because of the numbers he's put up, you look at the scoreboard, 13 points for him. You consider that somewhat of keeping him in check. He's very productive. He has 6 assists to go along with it. So he's been using his ability to score to draw to help defense, and he's been making all the right passes.
And all the more notable because he's coming off a career-high 36 in the loss to Coppin State. 4-point lead for Oregon State, 65-61, coming up on 5:30 to go in the second half.
Oregon State in the 2-3 zone.
Nicholas wants it instead. Top side to Bailey. There is Nicholas. Faces up, knocks it down.
That's good, patient basketball. They're finding the middle part of that zone.
Ryan Nicholas up to 14 points now. Portland refusing to go away.
In a zone, if you're not knocking down 3-point shots and you're not dribble driving, then just take a look at that middle. And if that middle's open, utilize it. Even if Nicholas doesn't shoot that shot, it forces a defensive rotation. It forces Angus Grant, who's at the bottom middle of that zone, to step up, and that's where your high-lows come into play.
Thomas Vandermars has picked up his 4th personal. 17 foul committed by the Pilots. 1-1. Grant, career 64% shooter from the line.
He needed that one.
Nicholas open once more. There's no question, Kevin Bailey, get off the floor.
Yes,
he is
can.
trying to contend for every rebound, but couldn't snare it.
Somebody better put a body on him.
Nelson, nobody got a body on him, and he finishes. And he's getting his point production up as the second half progresses.
And now he's barking out the defensive orders. He knows the importance of getting a stop here. They don't want to go down in this last 2 minutes of the game close.
Palace cooked to the goal.
Cook showing he has a high defensive IQ, leading the passes, shooting the gaps.
Sharp through. The screen set by Barker. Wintering has been reluctant to shoot in this game, more of a distributor of the basketball. Shot clock at 12. Sharp, catch and shoot from the outside. Bailey, there was contact as he skied for the rebound.
Well, we saw that coming. The last few possessions, Bailey's been crashing the offensive glass hard. He's one of those guys, you just might have to turn around and face guard and just keep him away from the basket.
Collier picking up his second personal foul. Both teams now in the bonus. Bailey coming off the career high 29 points against UC Davis on 10 of 17 from the floor. Was steady at the line a year ago, 74%, good for 15th best in the WCC.
He's the kind of player that really thrives in transition. You see the athleticism. He likes to get out there and run and get to the paint, shoot the closer shot rather than a three-point shot.
Got them both. Portland within 4 as Bailey takes a seat.
Now Portland's going to test Oregon State's ball handling ability and passing, a little full court pressure.
Here comes Roberto Nelson.
Now
Rams facing the double.
Yep. Portland showing they're not going to get beat down in the post.
Collier muscles up, tries to track down his own miss. He's got it. Lost the handle going up. Wintering, as the crowd wanted the whistle, able to wrest it free. Bryce Presley hangs, can't hit. And there's Collier defensively for the rebound. 3:20 to go in the second half.
Big stop there. Craig Robinson telling Hallis Cook to slow up. Let's run our offense. Now you don't want to get too passive.
Get the ball, get the ball, get the ball.
Nelson, 4-3. Such a smooth stroke. He knocks it down.
That's who you want to have the basketball, and that's why Craig Robinson slowed the break up.
Roberto Nelson with 19 points now. Wintering to Sharp, open for 3, and he's got it. A cold-blooded 3.
Big, big answer. This one is going to creep down to the final minute of play.
Coming up on 2:30 left in the second half. Not a lot of contact there, but the whistle comes. It's Riley Barker who picks up the foul. Nelson, cool when it counted, but Bobby Sharp with an answer. It's a 4-point game here at Corvallis.
Pac-12 networks own the court. It's basketball West Coast style, and Pac-12 networks are your exclusive home court for all the action, with more games than anywhere else. 149 men's games, 101 women's games, a staggering 250 Pac-12 matchups. With studio shows, analysis, and interviews, we live Pac-12 basketball, from preseason to the tournaments and everything in between. We cover the court like nowhere else, only on Pac-12 networks.
Being here at the University of Oregon was absolutely spectacular from both an academic and a sports atmosphere.
My dad went here as well as my sister currently.
You know, you can't see another Duck without giving the O sign and say, "Go Ducks." It's just this common bond that we have. You can't experience the nostalgia in any other campus like you can here at University of Oregon. I am Scott Stewart, Duck fan, U of O, class of '81.
I am Megan Stewart, class of 2010.
And we are the network.
Tonight, it's a men's hoop showdown in Seattle. At 8, C.J. Wilcox and the Washington Huskies take on UC Irvine.
C.J. Wilcox on fire.
Live coverage starts tonight at 8 on Pac-12 Networks.
There's a responsibility to my school, to the fans, to myself. I represent excellence. I represent all who have come before. I represent Cardinal and White. I represent Stanford.
Here at Oregon State, it's the Beavers leading the Portland Pilots 72-68. Time now for the Quicken Loans amazing play of the game. Angus Brandt going strong to the hoop.
To the average fan, you may say, well, what's so amazing about it? But to Oregon State, they say this is our guy who was out with a surgically repaired ACL last season. This is amazing to us with a nice turnaround and the finish showing he has the strength to finish the way he used to.
Already achieving the double-double, as you can see. 13 points, 10 rebounds.
And he was averaging nearly a double-double before he got injured last year. Had a big game in the Garden. Oregon State faced Alabama, played really well.
Yeah, went down with that ACL tear in his knee in just the 4th game of the season. Unable to get the front end. But Victor Robbins in the right area at the right time and using that athletic ability to his advantage. Another look for Oregon State. More importantly, they can run clock if they choose to. Nelson instead buries the 3.
You know he's always going to make his imprint in the game. Whether it's throughout or he waits to the last closing seconds to put it away.
Roberto's got 22 points. Kevin Bailey scoops it down. 5-point game.
Far from being over. Now, if you're Portland, learn from your mistakes. Get the ball out of Roberto Nelson's hands. Force somebody else to beat you. And on the other end, if you're Oregon State, find a way to get the ball back to Roberto Nelson.
Beavers more deliberate on this sequence. 1:40 to go. Brandt watched by Vandermars. Nelson matched up with Bailey. Pulls up for a 3. Whistles and contact in the lane. It's going against Portland.
You got to love what you're getting from Victor Robbins. 2 offensive rebounds. Well, 1 offensive rebound, then another saved possession here. But Roberto Nelson, he wasn't the conference's leading scorer last year during Pac-12 play for no reason. We've seen him post up this game. We've seen him dribble drive to the basket and just cold-blooded knock down 3s.
Bobby Sharp picked up his 2nd personal. Nelson, 77% career. Can't get it to go down. Some hope for the Pilots. Clock stops. An opportunity to pick up some points at the line as Bailey is going to the stripe. Brandt went after the ball, but got some body.
Well, somewhat a poor transition defense from Oregon State that time. They were in retreat mode. And Bailey able to draw the foul in a game where maybe the players are trying to figure out how to play because we've seen a lot of bumps go uncalled.
That is uncharacteristic. Bailey 74% last year at the line. A reminder, when we're done, we're taking you to Eugene. It's Western Carolina taking on the Oregon Ducks. That is straight ahead right here on Pac-12 Networks. Roxy Bernstein, Ernie Kent will have the call. 1 of 2.
4-point game. Portland's going to look to play solid defense. No need to foul. Oregon State needs to find a way to get the ball to Roberto Nelson. They're going to utilize clock. They're in no rush.
Plenty of space for Brandt to use. Smartly gives it up to Nelson with 13 to shoot. Watched by Kevin Bailey inside a minute left. 7 on the timer.
Great find.
With 3 to shoot. Battle for the rebound is pulled by Nicholas. Pilot's got to go. Wintering recovers. Falls to the deck. Out of control. He traveled.
And there you see the freshman being a freshman. Trying to attack. Lost his balance. And then just lost it again. I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, freshman, sophomore, junior, you lose your balance. It's tough to keep your dribble in control.
Will be Olaf Schaftenauer to play it in.
Even now, if I'm Portland, I'm not fouling intentionally. I'm going for a steal, and if I end up getting a foul as a result, then that's okay.
Instead, the whistle comes with no time coming off the clock.
Not sure if that was intentional from Portland or not, but you want to let Oregon State throw it in and go for a steal. You have some time to take some chances before you start fouling intentionally.
Kevin Bailey with the foul. We'll see about the mental composure of the true freshman from St. Anthony High School in New Jersey. Dallas Cook at the line.
And maybe that was the idea, the thought process. Let's foul the freshman, see what he has.
Pilots have committed 10 team fouls, so Oregon State in the double bonus. Another look for Cook. Victor Robbins returns. Schaftenauer comes off.
So Oregon State's going to employ some full court pressure, not necessarily to get a steal, but just to slow Portland down. If you're Portland, you don't have to go for 3 here. You can go for 2.
Kevin Bailey looking to give it up. Elevates over the double, rejected by Collier.
Portland with 1 timeout left. Here's an opportunity for them to run it out of bounds play. Sometimes this is better because you can run a set play from the baseline or sideline.
Well, we talked about unlimited range for Sharp, but even he has some limits. And there's 22 seconds left.
Oregon State doing what they needed to do, giving up a 30-footer. Still wasn't far off. That just shows Sharp's ability to shoot that basketball.
Ryan Nicholas slow to get up. Bailey with the foul. A reminder what lies ahead for Portland. They're heading to East Lansing to take on a Michigan State team that'll be #1 in the rankings. That game coming up on Monday. The Beavers heading to Maryland, take on an ACC team on Sunday. Collier at the line. And there's the rest of the schedule. A visit to DePaul. You can see the majority of those games right here on Pac-12 networks prior to the start of conference play. Still a 2-possession game with 18 seconds left. Sharp off the window, timeout revenue.
Timeout called by the Pilots. This is a full timeout.
Well, turnovers a big part of the storyline in the second half. A lot of transition looks.
Well, at the start of that second half, first 10 minutes or so, Portland only had 2 turnovers, and they were getting a lot of good looks. But then the freshman Dallas Cook and even Roberto Nelson really started shooting the passing lanes and reading those passes. And we talked about, because of the zone defense that Oregon State plays, passing is at a premium. And if it's not a good pass, Dallas Cook's going to take it.
Now, this game is not over, but Oregon State showing tenacity after that disappointing upset loss to Coppin State to start the season here in Corvallis.
It was almost one of those must-win type of games, and you don't expect that in your second game of the season. But, I mean, it's no secret. There's a lot of pressure here. to win. Craig Robinson hasn't had the type of season yet that he's wanted to have. His teams have shown growth at times, and then it looks like they've taken 3 steps backwards.
Roberto Nelson looking good, coming off his career-high 36 points against Coppin State, going for 22 on this evening.
Well, he's one of the players that hasn't taken any steps backwards. He's improved each season. He came into Oregon State highly touted as a big scorer, and it took him a little bit of time. He came off the bench his first year and only averaged around 9 points a game, but when he got inserted into that starting lineup, he took on that role and hasn't shied away from it. Big shot after big shot.
And a chance to add to that stat total and style points. Closing seconds now here in Corvallis. Nelson with 24, Brandt chiming in with 13 and 10 rebounds for the double-double. It'll be Sharp pacing Portland with 18 in defeat. Ryan Nicholas with 14 points.